Hey guys, this is the first ever episode of the Tape Deck Reviews podcast. I'm James, and you may have heard for this from my Instagram, Facebook, whatever you heard from. Hi, welcome here. So in today's episode, we will be discussing about gigs, why we go to gigs, why we like them, our favourite gigs, and I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Imogen.
Hello, I'm Imogen, obviously, because you just said that.
So, gig-wise, what was your first gig? Like, 'cause everyone's had their first time, and everyone's had a very embarrassing or a very cool gig.
Oh, well, I have some pretty interesting gig stories because I started going to gigs when I was like 12.
Cool.
So my first gig was Bowling for Soup in 2016, if you're onto that band. Very good pop punk band and not a problematic punk band.
I think I've heard a few of their songs. I think I've heard
few songs like 1985, Girls All the Bad Guys one, Girl All the Bad Guys one, and another good song of theirs is also, they also did a cover of Stacey's Mum, and everyone thinks Stacey's Mum is by them instead of Fountains of Wayne. So, you know, everyone goes, oh my god, Bowling for Soup did it, and it's like, no, they didn't. But yeah, no, that was an interesting gig because I met the support band afterwards, and I can't remember what they were called. I will have to find what they were called. I think they were called, crud, what were they called? Doesn't matter. However, I that was a really good gig because I saw them in the O2 Academy in Liverpool, and like first gig being at like a venue like the O2 Academy.
Yeah, how old were you? Like 12, 10?
I was 12. Yeah, I was 12. I was in at that point
enraptured in this world of everything. Like, wow, what is this? People moshing. I'm gonna get hit.
I know. And it turns out like a few friends of mine who I've met over the years were actually at the same gig as me. I just didn't know them until like a few years later. So it was like, okay, that's pretty cool swag, I guess.
So,
but yeah.
My first gig, I think I was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
I went to see a very, very popular pop band called The Vamps.
Oh, yeah.
I went with my cousin. I went because I thought, right, I've never been to a concert before. Like back then, I knew nothing about music. Yeah. I was a little music virgin, and so what I heard them, I thought, this is cool. I like gigs. Thought nothing of it, and then I saw them again, and then I got to the front. I don't know if you can call it moshing, but I danced. It was banging. But that was the first one. Like, it was weird because I never expected live music to be that fun. Because I always just thought, just pop it on your phone. But throughout the years, it just got better. My second gig was it was a Fleetwood Mac tribute band. That was really fun. Yeah. I met the lead singer. I also found out later that she was on a Come Down With Me episode. It was sick.
But it
was a fucking fun little concert.
Yeah.
I used to say that was my first concert because I always used to think, don't tell anyone your first concert was a Vamps concert. I'm publicly admitting it. What's like a favourite concert? Like, what's been the one that you've absolutely
wow? My god! So, the best concert I have been to, I would have to say, was when I went and saw Idols the first time. We named drop Idols, first name drop Idols today. Well done.
Massive disclaimer. Imogen's a massive Idols fan, so if she mentions them, don't be surprised.
Yeah, exactly. So I've seen Idols twice. I saw them for the first time in April 2019 at a venue in Manchester called the Albert Hall, which is the smallest venue I've been to. Oh my god, that is such an amazing venue. It's just so good. It's tiny. Like, I was at the front at the start. So we got there early, me and my boyfriend at the time, and his friend, and his other friend. And we're all at the front. And I had a week and a half to learn all the lyrics for that gig because, like, I wasn't really into Idols at this point. I was. The only time I'd ever listened to Idols was on a plane to Rome, there and back. And I listened to the entire Brutalism album, like, both ways from Rome. So, like, a week and a half before the gig, like, the gig sold out, and my boyfriend at the time goes, oh, I got you a ticket off, like, a reselling site, and I was like, shit, oh my god, like, that's amazing.
So, were they big at this time? Because if it was small, it must have been, like, really, really intimate to be in.
Yeah. So, this is post Joy and Act of Resistance, and it's less than a year since Joy had come out, and they were still, I got into them just before they massively peaked. Like, it was pre-Glastonbury, which is probably one of their best gigs. You can go and watch that, like, on iPlayer. I don't know if they still got the Glastonbury stuff on iPlayer, but that is an amazing gig to watch. So we're in the queue for the gig, and, like, literally, we are, like, third people to the third people, like, to go in. And it's like 10 minutes before the venue opens, and Joe walks past us, And my mate, who's like really, really confident, he goes, "Oh my God, Joe, can we get a picture?" So I get a picture with him, like Joe, my friend Lucas, and James, my friend, not you,
Yeah,
my other
a
friend
different
James.
James.
Yeah, and then my boyfriend at the time gets a picture with him, and then Joe's like about to go away, and then my boyfriend at the time goes, "Hey, do you want to have a picture with Joe, like just me and you, like you and him?" And I was like, I almost said no. I almost said it was fine.
You
I
thought you
didn't
were
want
too
them.
cool for
Yeah,
Joe from the Idols. Like, I don't want you. I'm better.
So then I went, "Oh no, yeah, go on, I'll get a picture." And I have the picture on my wardrobe. People have
Yeah.
seen it so many times. I always talk about that photo, and it is like I was barely into them at this point, and it's just like the idea of like it's such a good photo. The only thing about the photo is there's a man behind my head that just ruins the whole photo. Which is such a shame. Like he's smiling with this massive grin on his face, and it's like, dude, like you could have not been in the photo, but
Do you ever track him down, like send him it and be like, here, you ruined my photo, but here's you.
After that gig, I got added to their fan group AF Gang, which people have probably seen the badge I wear on my jacket.
Yeah.
And I remember because on AF Gang is like, as much as I love idols, it's full of middle-aged people who still think punk is alive, and punk is very much. It's like it's not alive anymore. It's just punk, as it were, isn't alive anymore.
It's more postmodern punk at the moment. Like there is still some forms of punk out there, like lots of reliving the past, but that's with most bands.
Yeah, exactly. So, what happened then? So we go into the gig, and like I got my T-shirt. It's like the first Idols T-shirt I've got. It's like the UK and EU tour of 2019. Go in the gig, and the support band is a band called Crows, and that was like I'd never heard of them at this point. Crows are a wonderful band. They're a little bit. The reason why I don't recommend Crows to people is because they are very much like I can't describe them other than being a very not creepy band, like as in like, oh god, they've not really put shit like that. Like nowhere near that. It's just their music's very like not ominous. It's just.
So have you into if you're into black metal and shit like that, like you into black metal?
I think Crows are a very small band, and I think they are described on Google as being, well, they're so small that it doesn't even say any kind of genre. So we're just going to have to say they're a little bit. Their sound is similar to Idols. It's just their aesthetics very much like snakes and darkness and like a lot of really nice artwork. Some really good artwork there. They're the first band that play, and I'm at the front of the gig. And how it works in the Albert Hall is that there is the stage is really high up. Like if you're at the front, like imagine if you're in a normal gig and there's the bar at the front, they're like a little bit higher than you, just like a tiny bit. Like I don't go.
I love venues like that. Venues like that make me so happy.
Yeah.
Like there's Gorilla in Manchester. That recently closed but reopened. That's where one of my favorite gigs happened. I'll tell you about that in a minute after you've told your story.
Yeah.
So go on.
This venue, I don't know if it has like a history to it, but like the stage is really high. So I'm sat there and I'm watching Crows. Now at this point I had been to about I'd say maybe 7 or 8 gigs at this point. Maybe 7 sounds about right. And because obviously of my hearing issue, I don't go to the front very often.
Yeah.
So this was the first time. This is the first time I've been to a gig without my family. Like I got the train myself with them, and like we'd gone there. We'd spent the day in Manchester. We went by ourselves. Got picked up by my friend's dad. But like,
fun little day.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it was a very good day. It's probably one of like the best days of my life that day. So I'm at the front, and like I'm like, oh yeah, it's fine. I can because the thing about support act is when the support act is on, the floor of the venue is virtually empty. It is like there is no one there because either people are getting drinks ready for the actual main act, or people are just hearing them from the side. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll stay at the front. And I wasn't at the front. I was one behind my mate. My mate was at the barrier and I was just behind. But that was like the front for me. Idols come on about 20 minutes after Crows. And I know you started listening to Idols recently.
Yeah, you've got me into them, they're great.
Yeah, exactly. So the first song they play always is a song called Colossus, if you've listened to that yet.
Yeah, I've heard Colossus.
Yes. And Colossus, as you probably already know, starts very, very slowly and ends very, very fast. And I am at the front, and people are like moving into this venue. there are mostly middle-aged men around me and a few students, and this person is like talking about how he's going to break my mate's ribs, which is another story and a half. I think it was just a comment, but it scared me. I was like, shit, I'm going to die in this. Like, I'm going to die. And I'm so like the slow how they play Colossus in person is they really slow it down compared to like because the starting bit with I think the bass or the guitar they really slow it down, and Joe sings really slowly, like immensely slowly, and so people are swaying and people are starting to move a bit faster, and my boyfriend at the time goes, if you want to leave this area, pat me on my chest and we'll go. So I was like, that's fine, don't worry, it's cool. And what happens is there's a little small interval between the really slow bit and the really fast bit at the end. And I think my boyfriend at the time went, you do realize we are going to die. Like he's seen Idols. He's seen Idols like 2 times before me at this point.
Trickles.
So he do realize we are going to die. And I'm like, it's fine. And as soon as Joe goes 1, 2, 3, 4, everyone is absolutely going for it. And I'm like shitting one. It's the first mosh pit I've ever been in, like ever. I am absolutely shitting one. And I literally went, get me out of here now. So we just run to the side. And like the rest of the gig, we spent literally, the venue is so small that we barely moved over, that we were by the bar. And my mate stayed at the front of the gig because they'd seen them so many times. But even when you were at the side of the venue, the mosh pit was still near you. There was like, exactly. And it was just, my God, like that, it was probably the reason it was the best time I'd seen them was because it was obviously they were starting to they weren't putting out Ultra Mono songs at this point because no one knew that was happening. And it was like, every day they would release, well, like, they had like the websites that like release like all like the set lists and stuff, and you can like
setlist.org.
Yeah. Every day their set list was different, so it wasn't the same song. So whatever gig you went to, you might have heard a different song. Like there were the bass songs that were always played, but then a few would get changed around.
I know a few done that. So this is actually a good paraphrase into my best gig. So my best gig was a small folk singer named Beans on Toast. Beans on Toast for me is one of my favourite singers of all time. And it was around December time. I really wanted to go and see him. He was playing in Liverpool Phase 1. And I thought, right, I'm gonna get tickets. But then I was like, you got to be 18, and that's what I hate about the Phase 1, the restrictions.
I've got friends who have gone to Phase 1 and got in because sometimes they just don't care. But you have to play a game.
It's the risk of tickets.
It's a game of like, will they ask you or they won't? And that's the thing, because the better venues are the smaller ones, and the ones you can't get into until you're like 18. It's so shit. Because like a lot of bands I like, for example, Life.
Life.
I think Courting has played there a few times. You can't go because it's like Invisible Wind Factory as well. Carsey Headrest played Invisible Wind Factory. My mates were all like 15 when they got in. So it just depends on how the purity are feeling. But it really does.
What happened was, I was like, I can't get in. I was bummed. I was like, I can't see him. But then he was playing a show in Manchester, and I thought, I have no way to get to Manchester. But that's the closest one to get to. It was the day before the tour ended, so he was going to Manchester, then to London, and it was on Valentine's Day. So I thought, right, something's definitely going to happen because he tells stories with his gigs. He's a storyteller. Jay Beans on Toast. So I got the tickets. February rolled around. Went there with my friend. And we got there a few hours early. We got there around 3 hours early. But walked around Manchester for a bit. Then 2 hours before the gig, we thought, you know what? Let's line up. Let's get first. Let's get first in. Let's fucking do it. So we asked the Gorilla, who's because the Gorilla's a pub, but it's also a gig. So we asked them, how do we get in? And he told us to wait around back. So we wait around back, but we misheard it wrong because there's a bridge near it. So we were meant to wait near the bridge, but we accidentally waited near the loading bay near it was so sketchy. Like put a bunch of people
Like the loading bay where the tour buses go.
No, the loading bay where like it's a small venue,
Oh,
like the loading bay where like all like the
I
food and
get you.
drink and like the little vans come in to deliver
Yeah,
stuff, and everyone kept on giving us dirty looks. I thought, why? We're just queuing up for a gig. Then
yeah,
30 minutes for it opened. We thought, am I going to check if this is right? So I run around the corner and there's a little queue started for where we're supposed to actually go. Luckily, we were second in the queue.
yeah,
Some kind couple, they kept my space so I can go back and grab my mate and be like, yeah, we fucked up, we didn't do this right. So
yeah.
we did that. We got in. I was pumped out. I was pumped out of my mind. That feeling of when you're actually let inside a concert hall
Yeah.
or a little area,
Yeah,
it's
before it
pure
happened.
ecstasy. But
Yeah.
but when we got in, we were just vibing there for 20-30 minutes, and then Jay Beatings on Toast, he came out, and I fucking fangirl. I was like, oh my god, and he was taking pictures of everyone, such a sound guy, talking, chatting.
Oh,
And I was like, hey Jay, can I have a picture, please? And so inspirational. I'll always remember the words he said to me. I have 3 beers in my hand. Don't underage drink, kids. I always remember the words he said to me.
Yeah, that's like that with when I met Joe, he was like literally I think he went to me, have a nice night, stay safe, and walked off. And like it's just you remember it really well.
It's little things, and so
Yeah.
Jay, he's a hippie. He was wearing no shoes. So surprised how he didn't get his feet cut. Like I'm not saying venues aren't clean. I'm just saying venues aren't clean. But so he went to the bar. We had a few pictures. I forced my friend to get one because he had no clue who Beans on Toast was. This is my friend Sam or Chartnell.
Oh, yeah.
And he never listened to Beans on Toast. He just agreed to go to the gig with me because it was his first gig. He's never been to a gig. So we went. He's never heard any of his songs. I'm like, come on, Sam, get a big picture. So I said to Beans, oh, this is my mate Sam. He's a massive fan of yours. I felt so bad, but then the picture, he looked so awkward in the picture, my mate. The picture turned out fine. Everything went great. So it's the venue got slowly got more full, and the support came on. His name was Lord Tensheds, and Lord Tensheds is so interesting because he somehow manages to play piano like a fucking maniac.
How does that work?
I'll send you some of the recordings later of Lord Tensheds, but I don't know how to describe him. It was a support act, and that's one of my favorite things about gigs is support acts. I love seeing because I've made some of my favorite bands from support acts, and that's why I love them. So they were like they played Lord Tensheds. He was vibrant. He was playing like he was on crack for the entire thing. His eyes, he had a stare in his eyes, like he wouldn't blink when he would play. So he had like 3-minute intervals of not blinking. I was like, this guy's hardcore. And then Beans on Toast came on, and usually he plays by himself on little gigs, but with his new album, The Inevitable Trainwreck, released December 1st last year, he was playing with some new bands called Kitty Lewis, and they were like backing vocals and all that. Came on, started singing all of the songs. The set list was great, as you said before about the Idols different set lists. The set list tonight was so different from the original. And after each song he would tell a story about it. So there's a song called saying thank you to robots, and the context of that is that every time his dad uses a Tesco scanner, he always thanks the little self-checkout thing afterwards. And every story, and he told us the story about his drug trilogy. The drug trilogy is 3 of the songs about taking drugs essentially. And he was telling us all the backstory for it, but halfway through this, he plays like a little love song for Valentine's Day, and because someone proposed that one of his gigs, and they were there that night, so he invited them on stage, and they had a little dance to one of the songs on stage, because they're married now, And it was such a lovely thing to do. And then halfway through it, he said, "Right, I've just been informed by the manager. There was going to be a night disco rave on tonight after this, but it's been cancelled. So that means we're going all night long, motherfuckers." Halfway through, later, he goes, "Right, everyone's gone. Let's have an orgy." He just yells it into the ground. It was fucking brilliant. So after the actual set list was done around 10:30, he was like, "Right, I'll take some requests. We've got all night. We can do what we want." So we're all yelling requests, and I yell. There's a song called "The Children of Bedford," and I yell, "Play Children of Bedford! Play Children of Bedford!" And he goes, "What do you say, mate?" And I goes, "Play Children of Bedford," because I'm like ecstatic now. And he goes, "Only if you can sing the first 5 lyrics for me." He says that to me, so I'm like, right. Okay, I froze up. I was like, "Oh no!" And then everyone was yelling the lyrics at me. I was like getting bombarded by a bunch of drunk people going, like yelling them like non-stop. Then I yelled the starting lyrics are, "There's a time and a place for everything." So I yelled that. He started to sing. Then he said, "Come on, sing along," and it was fucking brilliant. But
Beautiful.
fun fact: that song is about children who were influenced by his songs for drugs. That they decided to take MDMA every day. So he wrote a song about Bedford. Basically, a bunch of kids came up to him and were like, "You inspired me to do MDMA. You're my hero." So he was like, "Right, this is a life lesson time, children." And but that gig was so good. And afterwards, he waited behind. He does like fan signs. So I got a couple of fan signs, and I made a custom one what says Heinz on bread. And he laughed. So that's a little accredited to me. But that was my favourite gig of all time, and I don't think one's gonna top that for a while. Have you got any other This is really subjective now. But what do you reckon your worst experience at a gig, or like the weirdest experience at a gig has happened?
Okay, alright, okay. This kind of goes into like 3 gigs because it's all kind of similar.
Yeah.
So when I first started gigging, I at the time when I was quite young, so 12, 13ish, and you know how at a lot of gigs they have a lot of flashing lights?
Yeah, I'm on to.
I don't have epilepsy or anything, but I used to get very vivid migraines and headaches, and I couldn't control it a lot. So the 3 gigs I'm going to talk about here are Bowling for Soup, Andy Black, Andy Black is another story in itself, and All Time Low. So Bowling for Soup first gig, as I mentioned before, and I was fine during the whole thing, but I started getting a headache near the end. How it works, for example, like the O2 Academy is quite close to Lime Street, so what my family would do was get we take the car to Hamilton Square, and then we just get the train over.
Yeah.
And so we went to the gig, yada yada yada. And this time, I think we got I can't remember correctly. I'm going to assume that we did take the car. I don't remember being on a train that day. And I come home and I run into the bathroom and I throw up everywhere because I know because I couldn't deal with it at that point. And I was like, right, I'm not going to do that ever again. So second gig is the Andy Black gig, which was about 3 months later. I am hands down saying this was the worst gig I have ever been to. If anyone here knows who Andy Black is,
big statement.
Yeah, no, exactly. Basically, he's Andy Biersack is in a band called Black Veil Brides, very emo because I went my emo phase, and he was doing a solo. He does a solo act under Andy Black, and it was very, very different to what Black Veil Brides were doing. Like completely different. Black Veil Brides, very emo, very like alternative rock, very like not liked in a lot of metal communities because like people were like, oh, these are copying these things, and they had like a lot of like, oh, their makeup's like Kiss, and it was nothing like Kiss. So the reason why I stand down as Andy Black being the worst experience is because the only good thing about that gig was that was the first time I saw Creeper live.
Oh, yes. You
the support act. I absolutely that's a very like big statement. Like I love Creeper.
Always find a soft spot for him.
The thing is though, I don't understand to this day why Creeper was the support act for that, because they were at this point they hadn't released an album. It was all their EPs. They were very, very small at this point, and they their early stuff is quite like, if you were to say like, if you were to put like a genre on Creeper, they're very like very theatrical rock. More later in there, like, yeah, I'd say they're like, their aesthetic is very dark and very kind of like nice. I'd say that's a good way of putting it. That was the good thing about that gig, was because that day the Creeper are playing, and Will Gold, the lead singer of Creeper, goes, can we get a circle pit going? 4 people go in the pit, including my stepdad. And it's the smallest pit I've seen ever. And so Creeper go off, and my stepdad actually spoke to Will afterwards, like, great gig, and that's how me and my family got into Creeper properly. But then Andy comes on stage. Now, if you've had an emo phase, or any kind of related emo phase as such, he is quite known in the community as being attractive. Now, at the time, I'd say a 13, oh god, I wasn't even 13, I was 12. You know, at the time, I probably would have agreed. I don't anymore.
What's his name?
Andy Beersack.
Oh, okay.
You can have a look for yourself. You could look at more. He's about 30 almost.
Okay, I see him. I can see what people mean with the emo appeal. I know how I know how like the emo community works in terms of appeal.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is with Andy is that at this point I think he just got married to his wife. Like, it was that year. But the thing is, everyone used to like shit on his wife because they were like together as boyfriend and girlfriend for like years, and then suddenly like they got married. And I remember at this gig, so like I remember at this gig, I remember hearing, so he comes on stage and everyone is like screaming. I cannot kid you not, there are like people screaming their heads off. And then at one point during the gig, he stops, and no, I actually no, that comes second. This person, I'm going to assume maybe a 15-year-old girl, I'm going to assume, she tried to, I don't know if you've ever been to the O2 Ritz in Manchester.
I've got a few gigs, I'm going to a few gigs or so, but I know I'm on it.
Yeah, so she tried to jump the barrier and try and get onto the stage.
Oh no.
And security had to pull her out, which delayed the show. And I was like, in my head, I was like, it's like normal and like Andy Beersack being on stage, because I've heard of the Black Veil Brides gigs at that point being kind of similar, but because it was just Andy, I guess people were trying to do more. And then I'd say halfway through the gig, I get this, he stops again. And this girl passes out at the front. She like faints, and he's like, "Yo, can you drink water, maybe?" And I'm like, "Okay." And like basically, so the reason why I'm connecting this to the first gig is because, again, I don't understand that I need to drink during a gig, like any water, and I start getting a headache again.
Yeah, stay hydrated.
Yeah, basically drink during gigs. Andy Black finishes, and I went to my mum, because my mum and my stepdad came with me. I went, I'm going to be sick. And I go running. To how it works in the O2 Ritz is you enter, and then there's like stairs that go down to the toilets, but then you enter and the doors to the venue like right there. Like there's no like kind of, I think so anyway. I haven't been in there since that gig. I go running and I start running, and I'm thinking I'm going to be sick in the toilet. I end up throwing up all over the stairs.
Oh no.
and people were going, "Oh my god, is she okay?" Because when I was about 12, everyone used to say I looked older than I was at that age. And so people probably thought I was drinking, or like something bad had happened at least. And you'd think from these stories that like, I don't know if you've ever been to a gig before where people pass around water. Like, have you ever had that happen? Like, some people pass around water.
Never because people have passed around piss in a couple though, so.
Yeah, so people probably think, oh shit, like, is she being like drugged in like her water or something? Or like, but no, it's the lights again.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the worst experience in a gig for like the actual show itself and afterwards. But the third one, that was 2017, and I met them beforehand, and I went into Manchester, like, I don't know if you ever, like when you get tickets that, like, you're formally meeting a band for a meet and greet, you have to go, like, earlier.
Yeah.
Because my friend at the time was, she was part of the fan group, and, like, so we got, like, meet and greet tickets, we like go out. We go there. It's like what 3 o'clock at the most, and we go and queue for like a. I'd say it was like maybe a 6 o'clock. No, a half 5 meet and greet. And guess who doesn't drink any water again? So I were waiting to meet all time low, and how it worked was that you I have it on my room. It's like you got a poster and they signed it, and you got to like talk to them and that,
Oh, that's
and they
cool.
were all on the table, and they were all dead chill. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was nice, like little meet and greet. Like, they were all lovely in person, surprisingly for a pop punk band. They were all lovely. And then, even though we were on like a priority thing because we've met them, we all thought, oh, they'll let us, like, you know how sometimes they just let you stand in a venue when you're early, well, if you're part of like the priority group.
Yeah.
We were kicked out on the outside and was like, oh, so you have to queue up again in the separate queue. We'll let you in first anyway, but you have to go and sit outside. And I'd start noticing I'm getting a headache.
Fair time,
And
Lucky.
yeah, this was at the Apollo in Manchester, and I was in year 9, so I was 13 at this point. And we go into the venue. I get merch, I think. Yeah, I got merch at the beginning, and I go in, and me and my friend at the time, like my friend, we got a really good space at the front, like really good. And I went to her, I'm gonna be sick. I in the Ritz, not the Ritz, the Apollo, the toilets are literally like next to the venue. And I open the door and I throw up everywhere
It
again.
happened
And there's
again.
like there's drunk people, these drunk women going, "Oh my god, get us to the toilet quickly!" And like there were people like pushing me forward, and I was like, "Oh, I'm fine, thank you." And then so there were two support acts. It was Swimmers, which are not a good band now, very controversial, a
Mm.
lot of allegations, and Water Parks, very good band.
Oh, I
And
love water parks.
I sit at the back in the Apollo. It's like an old theatre venue. So like there used to be like seats, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like all like bumpy and that. And I'm sat against the bar. My head's like there, and I'm like lying, and I had to sit down the entire supposed support act. And then I was better by the time All Time Low came on, because this is the reason why I put it as like out of all three. Like,
Yeah.
Bombs
Because you
was
got it there.
amazing. Andy Black was just a mess. And then this one was still a good gig. It was just by the time All Time Low came on, me and my friend went behind. We went behind. Oh, the people that like sort out all the lights and the sound, and like they
The
sit in
sound
the
system,
middle.
Monto, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We were right behind there, so we were like in the middle. And because we were near the backish, we weren't really, really close to people like usually are at a gig. Like, there were people near us, but not
Yeah.
near. We were right bang in the middle, and we could just see the whole stage.
Oh,
It was a
so
shame that we would have been at the front if I hadn't been sick. That is why you learn to tell people you're with, get me a drink from the bar first before the gig comes on. Then you don't get a headache.
right. So
Don't do it.
for when we see Viagra Boys, I'll be drinking
Yeah,
for 4 industrial gallons of water.
yeah, I know. I have to like make sure I drink so
Yeah.
many drinks. It's like,
My weirdest gigs. One of my favorite gigs of one of my favorite gigs was Jake Bug, but it was also one of my
yeah,
weirdest experience. 'Cause, I love
mm,
Jake Bug. Got a signed poster on there. Got
yeah,
straight at the front. So fun. It didn't happen with me, but
yeah.
someone threw water on someone. And this woman's
Oh,
makeup, and she was crying. This is near the end of the show, so it wasn't that bad. But it was way better. She was fine after that. But beforehand, there's a bit of backstory to this. When I was in the line for the Jake Bug thing, this was literally just before Corona, maybe a month or two. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
I think a
yeah,
month actually, because it was March sometime. Yeah. So what happened
yeah.
was, I was first in the queue, and this little
Oh,
old woman was
God,
behind
that's so
with her daughter. And
yeah,
what happened? So she was like, "Is this the key for Jake Bug?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is it." And so we got chatting. Me and my friend, we were there, and we got chatting with her. And this was her 40-ish time seeing Jake Bug live. And she was telling me about how she's met him and all that. Lovely lady. She was giving me all like backstory and all that, and
mhm,
all around amazing
yeah,
person. So I saw her in the gig, and I said to her, "Oh, we got to the front, did we?" I had a little laugh with my mate and all that. Um, and it was fine. Everyone came in, didn't see much for her throughout the rest of the night. So we had kicking off. She was with a male friend who also sees him, and these old couple. I mean, these group of chavs, they were pushing this couple. They were punching them on purpose. They were punching and
Oh,
everything. And well, see, the moment I was about to say a very, very naughty word to them, the other people stepped in, and the old
what have you
person
done?
said, "I will kick your head into the kids," and all, like the people who were doing it, and like this massive like beef was going on. It was during it was quite ironic. It was during the song called "Troubled Town" by Jake Bugg, so and everyone was going on,
Oh,
and the security came and they kept pushing each other. He knocked the old guy's hat off, and everything was getting thrown everywhere, and he were getting punched. But luckily, he managed to get sorted out. The guards were like, "Look, I'll kick you out. Get to the back." And
God, nice.
after that, nothing happened like that. But then someone did let off a smoke bomb, and then we thought, you know what?
Yeah,
I thought, no, it's one of my first like proper big concerts. Let's get in the middle. Let's mosh around. We moshed around. Pretty sure people were peeing in cups at one point, but it was so fun.
lovely.
What great
So fun but weird.
experience. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I love about concerts. But
yeah, exactly.
so that's why concerts have been great. And this was before lockdown. That's why in a minute
Mm.
we're gonna get into a discussion about pre-lockdown
Away
concerts we've sadly lost due to coronavirus. Rest in
that
peace.
time.
Okay. So on the topic of music and gigs, recently there's been a little known thing called Corona. That's it. So
COVID-19.
it's kind of flipped the entire live industry, music, business, hospitality sector on the ground. Like as you'd know, I think unless you're living under a rock. Um, so with everything being flipped on underground, there's been everything cancelled, gigs, festivals. I was planning on going to my first festival this year, but everything happened.
Corona.
Um, I now have a list of gigs what have been cancelled and postponed, and it makes me
Oh,
sad to read this. So we've had the
oh
Kaiser
God.
Chiefs postponed till indefinitely, and I was looking forward to them so much because they were playing with
Yeah,
like
good,
six other
good plan.
bands, so it would have been amazing. I had Frank Turner. He cancelled one day before the gig. He cancelled the day before because I used to do work up at like a local high school helping kids read, and I was outside waiting to go in, and I checked my phone, and it's just Frank Turner saying, "Hi guys, yeah, gig's cancelled," and I was
Oh,
so upset for the rest of that. I had like put like this face on for these
nah,
kids who have to
okay.
read Diary of Wimpy Kid 2. I was like, I feel your pain, Greg Heffley. I feel it. Then recently I had Status Quo cancel, but to add
Not the real status quo, guys. Rick Parfitt hasn't come back to life.
no, the fakest quo, the fake quo, we'll call
Fake
them,
quo.
the fakest quo.
Yeah,
So Francis Rossi, pretty much, and that's really that's who really I'm really going for.
yeah,
To add,
exactly.
plus I like the new album. To add
Mm.
insult to injury, they said they're not going to go on tour next year either. So I'm like, this isn't good. Um,
2022.
then I had if none of them die. Then I had
Oh, okay.
then I had the Fratellis, who postponed again. But to add more insult to injury, they've postponed that album twice because they want to release it while on the tour, which I don't know why.
Oh,
Then finally we've had the Viagra Boys, who
oh.
me and Imogen are saying, but they've postponed it,
Woo!
and I don't know when. Yeah, we need to figure out the date more. Because
Yeah, I think it's in June, actually,
yeah,
to be honest.
but yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't clash with our possibly not A levels.
If they do, we're gonna have to like either sell the tickets or hope to God, hope to Jesus
Imagine
Christ.
that. That'd be horrible. I want to see the Viagra Boys,
Yeah,
though.
it'd be so upsetting if they do. Like,
Oh, yeah,
but
exactly. Exactly.
we've got to prioritize our futures. But
Yeah! Woo!
I think exams are going to be pushed back. But that's a different topic.
Yeah,
What could be
this
explored
is
one
not what we
day.
want to talk about.
But yeah, so what have you had cancelled or postponed?
Well, so the thing was that quite luckily enough for me, a lot of bands weren't planning on touring this year because they were having like their year of like rest. So, for
Yeah,
example, when I saw Idols for the second time in December, they'd said like, "Oh, we are not touring 2021 at all. We're having a year off." Like, and then obviously they suddenly go, "Right, okay, new album," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." Which is being released on 25th of September. It's called Ultramano. Please buy it. Promoting the band again.
It's sponsored.
And but the only two I think I had postponed was Creeper was meant to be in April. I was meant to go and see it with a friend called Lila. Oh,
Oh,
you might.
who's
Oh, who's
Lila?
she? I don't know, but basically, we are now seeing it with another friend of mine as well. But the the gig has been moved to March of next year, 2021, and
Ouch.
the venue's been upgraded, which is why more tickets are on sale. And it's going to be so weird because our tickets still say like
No, yeah, that's
April
happened with mine.
2020, and then when we go, it's going to be like every single ticket is still valid. So, but like it's going to be weird because I have like a collage in my room of my tickets, my physical tickets,
Yeah.
and I have unfortunately, because of Corona, a few of the gigs I have recently booked are not physical tickets, which is really annoying.
Oh, I don't like
But
e-tickets. E-tickets, they take
no,
the fun out of it.
tickets are horrible. But the other band I had cancelled, not cancelled, postponed, was the Stranglers, and the Stranglers are like my mum's favorite band from when she was like my age. So basically, the Stranglers to her is like idols to me. Like
Yeah.
she is in love with them. She's seen them like over 30 times, and like she absolutely loves them. And the keyboard player, I think, I can't remember his name. My mum is going to disown me because I don't remember his name. He died of corona back
Oh.
in May,
Oh.
and which was, and so they have their gig has been pushed back, which we were going to go and see because like I want to see the Stranglers again because you go and see a band that were like prevalent during like the punk era, and my god, they're like amazing. But you know, and then they were going to do another gig in honor of the person who died, and
Yeah.
I can't go to that one because it clashes with the gig I've got in the future. But no, they were only two that were postponed for me. But I have gigs that I've booked since. I'm hopefully, depending on a certain person, I'll be seeing Sports Team. Um, Hopefully, I'll be seeing Sports
Well,
Team.
I've actually got into
Yeah,
them a bit more recently. I've actually heard a
yeah,
little bit
very
more.
good band.
They're
That is
decent. They're
April.
decent.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
Corona's fucked a lot of gigs up.
Yeah,
But
exactly. And then I also have Fontaine PC,
yeah,
and which is going to be in May, and Idols for the third time.
third time lucky. Don't throw up.
No, no, I've never thrown up
Yeah.
an Idols gig, which I'm very proud about.
what
Not done that.
what I've noticed with Corona, a lot of people, like a lot of bands, are saying we want to make it up to you, and because of this,
Yeah,
so many people are like going on tour. But
yeah,
it's all booked for next year. My earliest gig is in December this year for I want to say very old because sadly there's only like one surviving member of
yeah,
a band called The Sweet. I'm seeing them in December. Well, one of the members is alive, so you know.
yeah.
Um, I don't think that's going to go on
Mhm.
because recently Steve Priest, the guitarist, recently passed away. I don't think that's going to
Yeah,
happen out of respect for him, but I don't know. So then
yeah.
after that, all of them, my earliest ones in April or May, I'm seeing the Laphams.
Oh, yes.
I don't actually realistically seeing all this going on
No, neither do I, and
because
it's a shame.
there's too many rules and too many iffies. Like
Yeah,
if something goes on,
like
and that
they're planning on like like the that good old TikTok you sent me once, where it was like the outside festival. I think it was like Two Door Cinema
yeah,
Club were
Tudor
playing.
Cinema Club are playing.
And how it works is, I don't know if anyone who's listening right now has actually seen how they're doing gigs. It's they have cages, cages,
In
but
pens.
it's not cages, they're like pens, and like people are in little groups, and like I've never been to a festival personally, but
No,
like
same.
the idea of being at a festival is like you're in a fucking crowd of like hundreds and thousands of people, and you do not care about how much you're
Yeah.
sweating and yikes.
Also,
It's
fun fact about where that way that was playing. That's the
yeah,
Virgin Arena in Newcastle. I wrote
yeah,
I wrote about it in my article because that's where a lot of the
yeah,
pilot gigs have been going on. So this
yeah,
weekend, Declan McKenna will be playing there. Last
yes, I've
weekend,
seen
Frank
that.
Turner played a show there.
Yeah.
And apparently they've all been going well. They're all in their little pens, and I'm glad to see somewhat of a norm turn for gigs. Well, not really a norm,
Yeah.
like a new norm, but like
Not really.
it's coming along. Like for example,
Yeah.
I've booked a gig. Well, I'm gonna class it as a gig. It's a student gig.
Yeah.
Loads of bands there. I love some of the people there. Mino Blue, Rosellas. There's some really good people. And in that gig,
Yeah.
it's in November, and I hope to God it goes on. I really, really
Yeah.
hope. And
Yeah.
because it's a student gig, will it have the funds to box everyone off?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Because I know,
it's
yeah,
weird.
I know in Germany they're doing a study at the moment. They've asked for volunteers to participate in a normal gig. So let's say, for example, like a normal
Yeah,
venue, like we'll use like the O2 Academy in Liverpool, for example. Like they are testing what is the risk of spread in that kind of environment,
that's
and I don't think that's complete yet because I think
yeah.
there's still like I'm not too sure. I remember reading this about a month ago, and so they're testing it in Germany to see maybe if like maybe there isn't like of course you'd think logically you'd be like yes that's a very high risk of spreading because you're all just throwing
Technic
yourself everywhere.
Technically,
But
it's always
yeah,
based on chance because
exactly.
if they done the first test and no one there has corona or the symptoms, it's gonna go fine. But on the second
Yeah,
test, they miss someone and people get
yeah,
corona, then obviously it's gonna go wrong. There's no
yeah,
definite thing.
exactly.
The biggest thing for gigs to continue is we get a cure, and
Yeah, or a vaccine at
that's not
least.
happening for a while.
No, exactly. Which is why I fear for the gigs that I
Yeah,
have
but
not even been cancelled yet. The ones that have been said we will do this next year, but
yeah,
who knows? For the love of God, we could have. They're saying at the moment, oh, we could have a second wave, but there's also arguments to say we haven't even finished the first wave. Like
yeah.
it's enough to say that the future of gigs is scary.
There's,
It's like I yeah,
yeah,
go on.
sorry, sorry about that. The mic glitched. I'm keeping this in
Fair
to
enough.
prove it glitched. Um,
Nice.
so there's the saddest part, not about gigs, is the venues have had a
Yeah,
massive hit from this. So the Gorilla recently, that is actually one of my favorite venues, closed down.
yeah,
But luckily it got
nice.
reopened. And what
Yeah.
was the other one in Manchester closed down?
So it was Gorilla and Deaf
Yeah.
Institute. I think they're both under like the same kind. I don't think they're owned by the same people, but
No,
I
but
think they're
yeah, say I know what you mean.
similar venues, and they're both very small venues. Like I went to Deaf Institute last December, and it's literally you go up these stairs, you walk in. It is a tiny floor that I'd say is definitely like the size small. Oh my god, maybe like the size of the small drama studio in college
Yeah.
is maybe even smaller than that. It is like it's a little tiny floor, and then the seats at the back, and there's a bar at the side, and it is tiny. And I've had friends who have seen a few bands there. I think Working Men's Club played there. I'm not too sure. I might be getting it mixed up, but they it's a very small venue, and it at the I don't think many people were playing in the venues either because bands are getting so big so quickly.
No, yeah, like
That
they
at this rate, yeah,
they shoot
it's
up.
just yeah, exactly, yeah. Like for example, like bands just like they someone goes to a band and then like they recommend it to their friend, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And Bob's your uncle. The band's no longer playing small venues anymore, and the small venues need newer bands, which is again going to be more difficult for new bands to even try and get into
It's a
venues, which is going
circle.
to yeah, the smaller venues are gonna suffer because, for example, one of my cousin, he is a drummer in a band, which I'm going to recommend to you all, called Melwood,
I've
which James
reviewed
has
them.
reviewed
I have
in the
reviewed
past.
them. They are great.
Yes,
They
and
are great.
I went and saw them in a small venue. I don't know if you're onto Jimmy's on Bold Street in
Yes,
Liverpool.
yes, I know what you
Yeah,
mean. Yeah.
and so underground there is a little tiny venue, and they were supporting like one of their mates' bands, and you know they they're quite lucky at the moment because they did have like a small, very small fan. They have a very small fan base that's bigger than I actually thought it was,
No,
and it's like
they do. They have a fan
yeah,
page in Mexico who gave me a shout out for
yeah,
shouting out for doing a review on the band.
yeah,
And I
exactly,
thought
and like
that it's really
yeah,
cool. They've got their own little fan base, and I hope to God they
yeah,
grow big because
Yeah, me
there's the
too, because it's my
Amsterdam.
family.
Do you have a song called Amsterdam?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. I love that song.
Yeah, they've got some. I think I liked Wither
Yeah,
personally. Like I remember that coming out, but like I fear for the smaller bands that can't
yeah.
go to venues such as them because, like for example, Idols used to play. Hey, name drop. Idols has played the Gorilla before. They played the Gorilla before they released Joy. It was after Brutalism had been released, and they were playing songs from Joy of Natural Resistance, but nobody knew what the fuck they were.
Yeah.
And they were the smaller gigs for Idols were probably some of their better ones. Like people arguably say, oh yeah, smaller gigs are much better than the bigger ones because
I
they are.
reckon they are. They are. They're
Like yeah, exactly. Like personally for me, like I would never go any like I would never ever 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 step in a gig where you had to sit down.
yeah.
That is the
I
most revolting thing you can ever do.
I've done it once. Catfish in the bottom, and that was because
Yeah,
I couldn't get
yeah,
standing.
yeah,
And
exactly.
it just felt really icky.
Yes,
I
it's venues like them that are going to survive, and
But
that's
that
not the
annoys
good
me
thing.
because the best bands I've been to are in the small ones, the university-owned
Yes,
bands,
exactly.
the little independent ones. There's a
Yes,
Zanzibar club who they helped a lot of like student bands in like the Wirral
yes.
and
Like,
Liverpool, and that
well
has
done.
recently closed down, which is
Yeah,
upsetting.
the people that were trying to like get a GoFundMe thing to like
They tried.
rebuild it, and they tried, but the thing is though the venue wasn't getting enough money, and also the building was incredibly
Yeah,
old. And that's apparently gone, which again is another fear for student bands because that was a very prime place for like the Battle of Bands, which we have on the
yeah.
Wirral and Liverpool
But
Merseyside area.
with the
And,
majority of student bands, um,
yeah,
I've noticed that's what I mainly review. There's one
yeah,
called Project Nevada who
yeah,
they earn I think they've earned their fame and reputation. They're a student band, and I'd say they're pretty big for like a student band.
yeah. No,
They they
they
busk
play on Liverpool a lot.
they busk in the middle of Liverpool city centre. They
It's
play
very prime
covers.
house.
They play their own music sometimes. But
Yeah,
they've earned like their own little thing from playing in person, and they've got so much spirit, which I love. And
yeah,
I feel like we need more bands like them out there. I've heard
yeah,
other student bands who release EPs who I'm
yeah,
yet to hear live. For example, the Plan Merseyside. I've heard them. I've heard them a few times. Lead singer's
yeah,
a really really nice guy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and he said our next gig come down and all that, so I'm gonna go to the next gig. I'm looking forward to
never
hearing them
happened.
live because
Yeah,
I want to
exactly.
see how, because most student bands they can sing, but it depends on how they do. Depends on how they do live. Do they have character? Do they sound better?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
with venues that's capable. People are capable of doing that. So
Yeah,
we need
exactly.
smaller venues. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
this leads me on to something called Save Our Venues. With
yeah,
Save Our Venues, it was not made by Frank Turner, but heavily influenced by him. And what he done was, each week during lockdown, he would play a set list from every single album, and the goal was 10 grand each day. So
yeah.
he done 14 of these, and he raised over 140 grand for an individual venue. He done one for the Phase One in Liverpool. I loved
Um,
every set list. I even donated some money to some of them. It was just an
nice.
all around fun time. And all he asked for was to
Mhm.
donate, and it was perfect. And with that, there's a local uni near ours, John Moore's. They're doing something for Save Our Venues, their student gig. Money goes
Yeah.
towards Phase One in Liverpool because
Oh yeah, yeah,
most places are experiencing hard times, and it's just great
yes,
to give back.
yeah,
But but yeah, venues, Corona's fucked everything. So
yeah. Absolutely.
so I have we're ending soon, but before it all ends, I've got
Yes.
a question to ask you. I'm gonna ask every
Oh
single guest this now. Um,
God.
so what are your top three favorite bands or singers?
Yes.
Top three
And
favorite.
would you like an album from each of them, or
Just top three, and
just
then
the band? Well, okay. So I'm currently looking at my vinyl collection and my CD collection. And probably through Spotify. So obviously, I wonder who the favorite band
hmm,
is.
um,
So I'm going to say so. My favorite band. I don't necessarily say I have like a top. I don't have a
Yeah,
list. I just say what
Slipknot,
idols at the top. Yeah, idols at the
Slipknot.
top. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. Um, idols are my favorite band. Like definitely, like 100%. And again, then everything else is kind of mixed underneath. So I'd have to mention good old My Chemical Romance for influencing a lot of the music I'm into. And if I did never have got into that band, then I would have never ever
Yeah,
even thought about alternative
we all have
music.
them
And
one. We all have that one album or one
yeah,
band what gets into
exactly.
music. Like
And
sadly for me,
yeah,
yeah, like, sadly for me, it was from certain people, but I'm glad I'm into my music like a lot.
yeah. And I think, and I'm not gonna give a my third favorite band, but I'm gonna give a small band which I have. Oh my gosh, my voice. Um, I have recently, not recently, but like they're a very very good band, and I do like it's kind of like a this band's very small. I recommend you all listen to them,
Yeah,
and I'm trying to remember which one it is. So the where are they gone? I've lost them.
you've lost them.
Uh, right. Okay, I know it anyway. So they are called Shame,
Shame.
and they're not relatively small. They're quite.
I've seen them. That didn't he release a new album recently?
They've released a new song, the first song in over 2 years. Songs of Praise is their only album, so you don't really have much choice when it comes to Shame. But I, the reason I say Shame is because like you know they're
Yeah.
just like weird good sound, and like I definitely recommend them. Like
So
100%.
from all them, I'm gonna pick an album from one of them. I'm gonna review it.
Yes,
That's what I'm planning on doing
exactly.
for every podcast I have on. But
Yes.
so I'm gonna say the outro now. So so that was the first podcast. I hope it wasn't too messy for everyone. I
Woo!
hope you actually stuck around. But I'm gonna try and do it every fortnightly, maybe weekly, depending on certain people's schedules or releases of
Yeah.
things. So
Ooh.
depending on all of that, I'm hoping people enjoy this. I'm trying out new things each
Oh yeah,
podcast,
absolutely.
trying to do things. But anyway, thank you for listening.
No
See you all in
problem.
a
Yeah.
bit.